Hey guys, Tyler finally back with another Camaro video. Today I'm going to go over just some of the top modifications that people usually do to the LS1 Camaro. So this is going to be your 4th gen F-body with the LS1 motor. So to start off with number one, probably one of the most well-known modifications for the LS1 Camaro, usually because it's not crazy expensive, is most of the time people do a SLP air lid, and unfortunately I don't have one on my car because my car came with the K&N setup, as you can see right here, because I bought the car secondhand. So I have the K&N set up right now, but I'm going to be switching to the SLP lid actually. And one of the reasons why the SLP lid is so popular is because of the way that the air intake is set up on the LS1 Camaro. Normally, what you would have is just a giant plastic, it's just basically like a giant plastic shroud that covers this whole area on top of the radiator and everything, and really pulls air that's coming from underneath the bumper. If you can see in here, underneath the bumper, that's usually where all your air is going to come in. And one of the things that the SLP lid does better over the stock lid is it's smooth. There's no plastic lines in it, which disrupt airflow. So basically, like I said, you're going to get all your air from down. You can actually see the ground right there. You can see where all the air would come from underneath. So the SLP lid basically just seals everything up and forces air up into the air intake. So it's nice, cool air instead of hot air. Because as you can see, the K&N setup that I have on my car is actually a really bad setup. Basically just because the filter is even open on the top, which allows you to pull in hot air from the motor when the motor's running. So like I said, I am switching to the SLP lid because it's definitely a good modification for the car. And also, one of the things I've already done to improve on the SLP lid is usually there's a huge piece of plastic right here that covers up most of that area and doesn't allow you to get as much air through, so I already ripped that out. So I would say for number two, probably one of the biggest modifications for this car, just because it's one of the 3 bolt-ons, probably would be, I guess, either the headers or the exhaust next. So I'll just show you the headers that I have on my car. It's kind of hard to see, but there's one of the two first pieces of the header there. These are not SLP, they're Texas Speed headers. They're 1 7/8. The 1 7/8 long tubes really give the car that deep, raspy sound. A lot of people really like the way they sound, and they're pretty good for horsepower if you have the air intake set up like the SLP lid, and then you have the exhaust as well. So that would definitely be number two, just as far as performance and popularity. For number three, like I said, number two and number three are pretty close. So I'll just say maybe the exhaust is number three. As you can see, I have a different exhaust on my car here. This is the SLP Loudmouth 1 setup. This is, as far as exhausts go, this is probably the most popular exhaust that you would see on an LS1 Camaro. Just because SLP at the time did a lot of the tuning for the LS1 F-bodies. They pretty much designed all the extra stuff that came on the SS versions of the car. This one's a Z28, but SLP did a lot of the big stuff for Chevy at the time when this car came out. So you're going to see the SLP Loudmouth 1 and 2 are probably going to be the most popular exhausts for this car. Just because they're super, super loud, and they make pretty good power because they're pretty much almost non-restrictive. They're pretty straight through. For number four, this is going to relate more to if you have a manual car like I do versus an automatic, because the number four would definitely be the rear differential and axle setups. The car came with a GM 10-bolt rear end setup, which is not a horrible setup if you keep the car completely stock. But if you have any kind of tire on the car, and by tire I mean you know, something sticky or bigger than what the car came with, like what I have here, you're just going to blow up the 10 bolt. There's no way around it. The 10 bolts, if you make any kind of power at all, and it's a manual transmission where you're going to be dumping the clutch when you launch the car, you're just going to blow it up. There's no way around it. My car had roughly 34,000 miles on it before it started to whine really, really bad, where the rear end, you could tell, was just not going to hold up any longer. So I switched out for a S&W race car 9-inch setup, which is based off of the Ford design, the Ford 9-inch. But there's a lot of other designs that you can do with this car. There's the GM 12 bolt, the Ford 8.8. So there's a couple different setups, and there's a lot of different companies right now that actually make direct bolt-ins for this car for the rear end, because the stock rear end is just really that bad if you have a manual. For number 5, like I said, I think a rim and tire setup would definitely be one of the most popular mods for the LS1 F-bodies, just primarily because most people use them for drag racing. They're a pretty good drag racing setup. So I have a 15-inch weld wheel on the back, along with a 28-inch tall Mickey Thompson tire, and then I have the gearing and the differential as well when I changed everything, because a 28-inch tire is really way too big for the stock gearing. But a tire and a wheel has definitely got to be one of the biggest modifications, because the car comes with a stock 17, or if you get the SS model, the rim and tire are a little bit bigger. But still, once you start getting into like some real power, if you have like a camshaft or nitrous, you're just going to blow the tires right off the car. So a sticky or bigger tire is definitely a huge modification that you're going to see on these cars. So for number 7, I put this one further down the list as well, not because of the expense, but just because it's more of a drag racing thing. A lot of the F-bodies you'll see that will race at the track will have something called a 2-step. As you can see, I have one on my car right there. Lingenfelter makes them, MSD makes them, there's a couple other small companies that make them. And they're pretty popular for drag racing if you have a manual car, just because with the manual cars, they're a little bit harder to get off the line when you first get going. And the 2-step basically just holds the RPM at a desired location, like let's say 3,500 or 4,500, whatever you want to launch the car at. And it really helps the car get off the line. And a lot of people like them because they typically will shoot flames out of the exhaust depending on the setup that you have, because they change the ignition timing to hold the RPM and everything. So they're pretty popular at car meets and car events like that, because they make a lot of noise and draw a lot of attention. I primarily use mine for drag racing, but I'd be lying if I said that I hadn't used it at a car meet once or twice. So it's also one of my favorite mods that I've done to the car. So basically, I would say those are probably some of the most popular mods for the LS1 Camaro. There's a bunch of little stuff that people do. I'm not really going to get into the smaller stuff. I know I probably didn't even list 10, but I think those are just the most popular modifications that you do. Like I said, you can do gears in the rear, like I talked about. That could be one too. But as far as the top performance related modifications that you could do to make power on these, besides like nitrous, that's pretty much going to be it. If you guys have another good one that I missed, if you think my list is a little bit off, just comment down below and let me know what you think should be part of the list. Is nitrous one of the big ones? Are gears super important? Racing seats? I mean, like I said, there's still a couple things out there. This was just pretty much my opinion on what I thought some of the most popular and best performance related modifications were. So if you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Camaro stuff. I'm definitely going to be trying to do a lot more videos with this car. I had a lot of problems from the beginning trying to get everything all together and just getting it down the track and everything. But the car is pretty much the way it's going to be for a little bit, besides adding racing seats and hopefully a little bit of spray next summer. So like I said, definitely stay tuned, guys. There's going to be a lot more cool content coming your way. And like and subscribe for more. Thanks. Have a great day.